Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Janet Yong, and in my channel I share about Bazi, Feng Shui, as well as entrepreneurship and personal growth, especially in the areas of motivation, leadership and communication. In today's episode, I'll be sharing with you for the year 2021 what skill sets you should be picking up based on the day that you are born. Now this we will have to refer to your Bazi chart. So far, we have actually covered the 2021 forecast based on the animal horoscope signs that you are born in the year, month, day, and hour. Now, those are the stars that will come into our chart and we really cannot control, although we can control the kind of things and the skill sets and our mindset on how we will handle things. So today's episode, I'll be sharing with you based on each of the day element, the influences that will come in your chart, what kind of skill sets that you'll be prepared so that you can have insight as well as be prepared to pick up the skills so that you can thrive in the year 2021. So let's move on to the next segment right now. Welcome to this particular segment. Now before we start the session today, it is crucial that you download your Bazi chart if you're not aware of the day element that you are born. So please go to the bazicalculator.janetyong.com or scan the QR code that I have here so that you can get your Bazi chart. Now let's take a look at a sample or example of a Bazi chart. In this case here, you can see that basically under each of the year, month, day and hour, there are basically the 5 elements as well as the animal horoscope sign. Today's focus, what we are really talking about is the day that you are born. In this case, what you are seeing in the red circle here, this person is born on the day of Yin Metal. Now, as I mentioned earlier on in my 2021 forecast series, each of us have a year, a month, a day, as well as an hour animal. So if you have missed my 2021 animal horoscope forecast, please do click on the link that I'm showing here so that you can review what are the stars that are aligned for you in the year 2021. Today we'll really be talking about the next part of our Bazi chart that we should be looking at, because this is the part that I mentioned in a previous episode that it's really controllable. We can't really control the influences that will come, but these are the skill sets that if we have an insight and we pick up the skill sets and face it well, this is basically how we will do well in the year 2021. The other thing I would like to highlight is I have received many questions as to what are their favorable elements, should they start a business. Now these are not the kind of questions that one should be asking if we want to move forward and thrive in the future, especially in the coming period 9. If you have missed the episode last week where I shared about what are the coming energy changes in the big period between the years 2024 to 2044, please click on the link that I'm showing here again so that you can review the video. Now today, based on what you have plotted out for your Bazi chart, look at the element that's under the day pillar as I showed earlier on. What is the element there? Now, if you would like to discover more about what are your personal characteristics based on your day master or the element that you are born on for the day, I have basically the videos in the Asian personality profiling series that I'm actually also showing here in terms of the link. So go there and understand yourself a little better, because once we understand and have better awareness, we are able to accept who we are, how people view us, and at the same time, what are the ways we can pick up in terms of skill sets and the job roles that we can choose so that we will usually perform better in whatever that we do, whether is it in career or business. In today's episode, what I would like to focus on, like I mentioned, is the day that you are born on. Now here, what I have done is I have actually adapted basically the traditional Bazi system and utilized terms in the Asian personality profiling series so that it's easier for you to understand. For this year, the year of the Yin Metal Ox year, some people ask me, why did I say golden? Golden means yin metal, because yin metal, another image is really that of jewelry, so a nicer way of putting it is golden, so we call it the yin metal ox year or the golden ox year. What kind of influence does the yin metal and the ox, which basically have the yin earth element, have on our charts in the year 2021? So for today's episode, I'll start with those born on the day of the wood elements. Like I mentioned earlier, when we look at yin metal and the ox, because of the element influence, it will bring about some kind of profound influence to our chart and therefore tell us what kind of skill set we need to pick up. So for today, I'd like to start off with the young wood. But before I do that, I will basically go through quickly some of the influences in terms of orientation that each of the 5 elements, both yin and yang, will actually be experiencing in the year 2021. So for the first half, because of the yin metal influence to our charts, those born on the day of wood will have the process orientation influence. Those born on the day of fire will have the action orientation influence. Those born on the day of earth will be idea orientation. Metal is people orientation influence, and water is analysis profiles influence. I will go into detail for each of the episodes that I'll be sharing later on. Whereas in the second half, because of the yin earth element influence from the ox, the influence for each of the day masters or the day elements will also be different. For the wood element people, it will be the action orientation influence. The fire element will be the idea orientation influence. For the earth people, it will be people orientation influence. Metal will be analysis orientation influence, and water will be process orientation influence. If you're really wondering what are these orientation influence, the words like action will give you a slight idea, but let me get into the details right now so you have a better idea. If we look at those born on the day of young wood, in the first half, because you have the yin metal influence, the orientation is that of process. Now in process orientation, what does it mean? It means usually you have to pick up skill sets that it's actually more from a step-by-step perspective, taking things one step at a time, working within a set of framework or boundaries. So the influence is that of the diplomat. Now, diplomat itself is really about following rules and regulations. Now, the traditional way of looking at this is what we call 正官. Now, 正官can also generally mean that the person born on the day of young wood can experience increased responsibilities or get promoted. It's also one where if my client asks me would they be able to find a new job this year, this is also the day element where I will say yes, the chances and probability of finding that new job will be there. However, when you get that new job or you get that new increase in responsibilities, it is crucial for you to then step up and take on the skill sets. And why is it within rules, regulations and frameworks? Because when you take on something new, you have to understand the environment that you're working in. So that's one of the reasons why. Now, another way of looking at the diplomat profile is also gaining fame and recognition. If you are looking at working to gain fame and recognition on social media, other ways in terms of influencing other people, you also need to study the rules and boundaries that actually will help you get there. So that's what it means by process orientation. What about the second half for those born on the day of young wood? Those born on the day of young wood, the second half influence is that of the action orientation. Action means taking the necessary steps to implement the set goals. So for the first half, you are basically understanding the rules, the regulation. The second half, basically you then need to actually take the steps to achieve the set goals that you have to meet for the year 2021. In the Chinese metaphysics traditional method, the director profile is also called Zheng Cai. So when we talk about the director or Zheng Cai influence, it's not necessarily just about getting money. It's really about implementing and taking the necessary actions so that you can get the money. And Zheng Cai is regular income. Therefore, if you are getting into a new job, maybe for the first half, you will be understanding the rules. The second half, you are expected to deliver results and therefore get your regular income. That's what we mean by the profile influences. When I explain it in this way, hopefully it gets you to understand a bit clearer, because in action orientation and director profile, you're supposed to be taking one step at a time to make sure that you achieve your goals. What about those born on the day of Yin Wood? Now, Yin Wood has the image of the flower. So if you want to understand the characteristics, do visit the Asian personality profiling system and look for the Yin Wood or the wood profile characteristics so that you can understand more. Now, for the first half of 2021, the Yin Wood people would also be experiencing the process orientation. However, from the process orientation perspective, they will be having the warrior profile influence. Now, what does warrior profile influence mean? In Chinese term, it's called qi sa, or direct translation is 7 killings. It sounds a little bit scary, but generally what it means is more like a general going into a war situation where you have to fight battles. Now, in modern day terms, what we are looking at when you are fighting battles is really handling multiple different kinds of projects and trying to deliver the projects. For some people, they may view this as unfavorable, mainly because Qisa is not really a good terminology. They will view it as obstacles. However, if you look at it from a positive mindset perspective, what you can look at is if you are able to overcome these challenges, you will learn something from this year and therefore be able to manage bigger projects in the longer term. So that's why you are looking at the process orientation. You may have to understand and study the environment, study the organization that you're working in, understand the frameworks and boundaries that you are working in, and then do the right kind of strategies, just like when you're playing a chess game or when you're actually going to war, understanding the enemy, understanding what's in front of you, what kind of steps and skills you need to learn in order to overcome and triumph in the future. So that's the first half of 2021 for you, for those born on the day of Yin Wood. What about the second half of 2021? In the second half of 2021, the orientation profile influence is that of action again for those born on the day of Yin Wood, and the profile influence is that of pioneer. Now, pioneer in Chinese is actually what we call 偏财. So for some people, they may think it's for the Toto or lottery luck, but generally it may not be the case. It could be if you are not really working, okay? However, if you are working in a bigger organization, you may be given new projects where you need to do more business development, because the 偏财 or pioneer profile is really about risk-taking, being open, being sociable. Therefore, you need to interact with people to understand more. So for the first half, you're actually handling a lot of different projects, right? So in the second half, what you're really looking out is actually going out there, implementing and starting new projects. For some who are looking at starting new businesses, okay, there are questions in my YouTube channel where a lot of people are asking me, is it time for them to start a business? When 偏财 comes into your chart, or the pioneer profile comes into your chart, this is the time where you have the urge to want to start something new. So it could be a new business on your own, or you could be starting something new with a company that you work for. So that's what the pioneer profile influence is. Now, the question, should I start a new business, is not so much about whether you should start a new business, because these are the influences that you will come in your chart that will make you want to start a new business. But whether you will succeed in starting a new business, it's the skill sets you need to pick up in order to succeed in business. Do you have the necessary skill sets to basically manage people, manage your cash flow, understand the market, introducing something new to them, and basically promoting it as well? So these are some of the skill sets you need to pick up in order to succeed in business. So therefore, the question to ask is not whether should I start a new business, but whether what kind of skill sets do I need to pick up in order to be successful in my business. I've also got a video where I talk about should you start your business and when you should start your business. So remember to click on the link that I'm pointing here so that you can understand a little bit more as well. This is the end of today's episode. Next week, I will cover those born on the day of the fire elements and what kind of profile influence will be coming into their chart in the year 2021. Thank you for taking your time to watch this episode. I'll see you the next week and goodbye.